1015 FM, KDWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Filled with wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fain, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show here on KDWN 1015 FM 720 AM. We are the talk of Las Vegas. I am the aforementioned one, the wrestling guru here in Las Vegas, sort of. Even though I'm sure Joe DeFalco is going to fight me on that. I am Mark Hoke. Thanks for joining us here on KDWN 1015 FM 720 AM. Andrew Fish Fain sitting across from me.
Yellow.
What's up, big man?
Just another fun Sunday.
You got the Mountain Dew voltage. Are you feeling charged up and excited?
Always.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad. Let's go to get, of course, our other co-host on the show. He is the overlord of future stars of wrestling here in Las Vegas. Coming off a great show last week, he is Joe DeFalco. Joe, what's up?
Well, not much. That was like the longest intro in the history of the wrestling show.
Well, we're doing some things, so I'm stalling. It's all good. But hey, guys, thanks for being with us. Well, fellas, I guess we should start with the premium live event that just happened yesterday in the World Wrestling Entertainment and break that down. I don't know, at times they seem to break it down themselves.
It seems to be a disgrace that they're calling it one of the big four still.
Survivor Series yesterday, and oh man, I don't know. It was it was okay.
There weren't enough matches on the show. I mean, I get it. You have to have a long period of time for each of the War Games matches because they take their time. But other than that, there was, 3 other matches?
Right.
That's not a PLE. That's, it's a glorified Saturday night's main event.
Wow. That's a little harsh. Joe, I assume you got to see this thing last night?
I did not. But I kind of followed through, and I was like, checking. I'm like, man, I don't really know what a lot of the matches are. And I was like, wow, that's it. There's no cross. There was no, a lot of people. I know everything was based off the War Games match, but like we had said a few weeks earlier, I don't know how much excitement there was of a main event of the Bloodline versus the Mishmash team.
Yeah, and the funny thing is everyone was calling for Bray Wyatt to come back. He's finally come back, and he still hasn't appeared in the ring yet.
Yeah, I wasn't super excited about this. I was hoping a little more was going to come out of it than what did. But to be very frank, could we have skipped this and done some of this stuff on SmackDown and Raw? To be frankly, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sad because this is supposed to be, like I said, one of the big 4 pay-per-views along with the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. And it's lost any luster that it had. And you and I talked about this before we went on the air. There were no storylines that really got furthered by it at all.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, if you look at the big returns over the last 6 months, not one of those guys was on the show. Strowman, they make him lose because of interference, which why even put him in that tournament? And Cross and Bray Wyatt, and it was like, wow, the big 3 guys that made their return weren't even good enough to be on their main show.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, let's run down through what happened, so everybody can understand why we were slightly disappointed. But, well, we'll start with the ladies' match, the War Games match, which had Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Mia Yim taking on Team Damage Control, which, of course, is Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Iyo Sky, plus Nikki Cross and Rhea Ripley. And, I got to be honest, when I watched this match, there were some there were some cool spots in there.
Nikki Cross diving off the top of the cage was kind of cool.
Yeah, but they even kind of spoiled that, but she just kind of sat up there for a while. It was like she was Batman perched on.
It was almost like a Young Bucks match.
Yeah, no.
Well, I was curious why it was a 6-on-5 because they had Mia Yim and that Machine Girl were both in the match. So I don't understand.
Yeah, like crazy. that was interesting, by the way. If you were wondering what Joe was referring to there, they had actually changed Mia's name to Minshin, which is crazy in Korean, for about 2 days.
And they changed it back.
Switched it back.
Yeah, but I heard Cole was calling her both names during the match.
He was. He did use it as a nickname, but
nickname.
But otherwise,
see what happens when Vincent isn't in his ear yelling the entire time.
Well,
he starts
we knew
doing
he wasn't good.
Well, we knew he was confused as everybody else this week. I don't blame him.
Apparently,
he was probably training to say Michin and then no, and what are you going to do? That's a little rough. I thought it was going to be the lady from The Walking Dead was going to come out, and I was disappointed. Yeah. Well, like I said, this one, Becky Lynch, of course, making her return, gets the fall at the end. But I'll be frank, I mean, I don't see what the point of this was, because now Damage Control takes another loss. And, of course, Becky gets to be the hero. But nothing really came out of this, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, on tomorrow night's Raw, what happens that comes out of what happened at War Games? Nothing. There's nothing new that's going to happen that came out of the War Games because of this.
They're going to fight each other again. Big deal.
Exactly.
Right. I was looking at some of the grades, because usually the two sources that I look for grading and the reviews on the pay-per-view are CBSSports.com is the one that I usually go to, and Bleacher Report. And CBS gave it an A-, and Bleacher Report
the whole pay-per-view or just that match?
Just that match. And Bleacher Report gave it a B-. So, and that's about, it was
I give it in between the two. I give it like a B to B+.
It was okay, but
there was no Ultimate Maniacs on the show. Very disappointing.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Survivor Series. The Survivor Series has presented itself, but it hasn't been that way now. And all it was, I said from day one, it was like there's no real feuds that make War Games special. Like War Games back in the day, you had DiBiase's team against Hogan's team, and there was a blood feud that was there, and it was just like the Brutes got thrown in with the Bloodline a month ago because they kind of got over.
Yeah, and the other thing they have, and this is the first time I remember it not being there, is there was not even a traditional Survivor Series match.
Right, which really bothered me about this card. They they tried something different.
Yeah, and that's fine.
But they could have, and it makes no sense because you had Gallows and you could at least did that as a Survivor Series match with a 4-on-4.
Well, and that's what I was saying all along. You've actually got a feud with Judgment Day and
the OC,
AJ Styles and the OC there, and you could have thrown somebody else in there and maybe Edge, Phoenix.
Yim had to be. Saying Mia Yim had to be put in the other match, so she couldn't be put in that match. She's kind of in two feuds at once.
She couldn't. I mean, you could have kept Mia Yim and Rhea Ripley out and had them on those teams, and you could have had anybody else on either Damage Control or Bianca's team. I mean, Charlotte could have made a return. Anything to that effect could have happened.
Yeah, and Rhea Ripley being in this match made
no sense, except for to beat up Mia Yim, which was what she wanted to do because Mia Yim attacked her from behind.
There was just nothing. There was nothing to this. But I mean, the match
success of the NXT War Games was because it was Adam Cole and their team, and it was like that was a feud that was built up. So I was like, oh, cool, man, they're bringing back War Games, and it was basically a matchup that people cared about. It was like nobody cared about this matchup. It's like thank God it was on Peacock, because if somebody had to pay $50, what would the buy rates have been for a show like that, where people actually had to pay $50 to watch an event that's supposed to be one of the biggest pay-per-views? They add War Games to it, and oh, by the way, a week before, we don't even know any of the matches on the show.
Yeah, and we're sensing a theme here. So let's keep going. Finn Balor, AJ Styles, obviously had
a good
feud
match
here, and a pretty good match. But
you know those two are going to put on that kind of match anyway.
Yeah, and like, all right, great, let's move on.
And nothing accomplished except for AJ Styles got his first win in a PLE since I think 2019.
And Finn Balor takes a loss. How does that help? Oh, you can kind of see where we're going here, guys, because this is
Raw. It won't matter. He'll get a win back the next day because, again, WWE is a world of where no feuds ever end anyway.
Yeah, 50-50 booking. Here we go.
And, of course, this is the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM. Best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. And then we went on to, oh, my God.
Yeah.
We were forecasting that this was a match that nobody cared about. And
I don't even think the wrestlers cared about it.
And I got to tell you, this was ugly. Ronda Rousey and Shotzi, another Shotzi botch, and I hate to bust on somebody that can do something better than I can do, but Shotzi just absolutely blew a spot with a DDT on the outside of the ring, and this just was incoherent. Not good.
All they've been able to do this entire weekend is make Raquel Rodriguez look bad.
Yeah. So I don't even want to talk about this match. It was just terrible. I'm sorry. It was bad.
The only thing worse than their wrestling was Ronda Rousey and or Shayna Baszler on the microphone.
That wasn't great either. Ugh. So we had that one, and then we have what was a decent match, but a weird end. Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory wrestling for the U.S. title. And generally, it was a pretty good match. I mean, I enjoyed it until the end. And it's not because of Austin Theory winning this match and is now the United States champion.
Which he couldn't do with the money in the bank.
No, we had to get rid of the briefcase for some reason to do the same thing that we just did 2 weeks later. But and Joe, I have to ask you about this because here's the spot at the end. So Theory is being held up in kind of a suplex position by Rollins. Lashley comes in for a spear, and the camera, unfortunately, was pointing where you could see that Lashley, instead of doing the spear, kind of grazes him and falls off to the side, and then Theory falls on top, and that's how Theory gets the pinfall in this match. But it just didn't look good, and it killed the match for me. I mean, I was enjoying it until then, but with Lashley, because I think, and Joe, you could probably talk more about positioning because you do your training at FSW. Lashley, if he would have done a spear straight through, would have gone straight through, and then I would imagine Theory would have landed on top of Lashley, who would have been on top of Seth Rollins, and it wouldn't have worked.
Why? Wouldn't it still? I mean, that would make almost a better ending because Theory's still on top.
No, but Lashley would have been on top of him too. So who gets the pinfall?
Theory, because he's on the very top.
But you see what I mean? I mean, Joe, what are your thoughts about that?
Due to WWE's really horrendous camera work, they probably got caught in a bad situation, and that was the finish. So, if the camera would have cut away like it usually does, nobody would have even noticed that. So, that's where they were going. They were trying to protect, Rollins. And when you talk about Theory not cashing in, I had no issue with that because I thought the way Theory was presented before when he had the case was kind of as a joke. And they actually kind of rehabilitated his character over those last few weeks. And I think Austin Theory is on a good trajectory. So I don't have any issues in that way. There's so many times that, there's bad finishes. There's, it's not SmackDown in the past where they would be like, oh yeah, they went and they redid the finish. It was like, they're going live. And sometimes, the best laid plans don't work. You go in there and you think, hey, this is going to work, and it really doesn't. And, go ask, AEW about the exploding ring or whatever. You sometimes you just have to go with what's there, and you hope the War Games match overshadows everything. But when you have a bad pay-per-view and you're picking, everything that wasn't good, and you only had 5 matches to begin with, and most of it wasn't good, it's easy to pinpoint, the things that were like, oh, that was terrible. And unfortunately, that's how Theory has to go in as the champion.
I don't want to say everything negative about this, but there was the very cool spot of Rollins stepping on Theory's back to stomp Lashley, which I thought was a great spot.
Yeah, that was a decent spot.
It was so bad. Fish is looking forward to AEW this week.
Wow.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we are going to head to a break, and when we come back, we are going to be discussing the War Games men's match featuring the Bloodline taking on those Brutes and Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens. So everybody stick around for a little bit, and when we come back, more on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 7 to 8 a.m. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Mark Hoke. Has out-of-control inflation, gas prices, and grocery costs wrecked your wallet? Then check into automated day trading with Trading Made Easy. Trading Made Easy has spent 5 years helping people put cash in their pockets with their simple-to-use day trading software. So if you're ready to leave that 9-to-5 job behind, visit TradingMadEasy.com or call 800-971-4160 to sign up for a free live training seminar right now. That's TradingMadEasy.com.
101.5 FM, KDWN.
When it comes to having the right attorney in your corner, you want to have a proven winner on your side, and Russell Dutch Boyd of VegasCounsel.com knows how to win in Las Vegas. Boyd graduated at 18 years old from law school and is also a 3-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner. And no matter what legal challenges you're facing, Boyd will help you through it all. As a litigation attorney, he covers multiple areas of law, including personal injury, business law and startup, cyber law, and crypto clients, and whatever else you might need to navigate the legal waters of Las Vegas and beyond. Just visit VegasCounsel.com to set up your free initial consultation today. That's VegasCounsel.com and let Dutch Boyd help you win today. Once again, that's Russell Boyd at VegasCounsel.com.
.101.5 FM, KDWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, and we are back on the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas. And, of course, also thanks to those of you listening to us on KDWN.com and the Odyssey app. We certainly do appreciate that. It makes us the #1 wrestling show in the multiverse. Isn't that correct, Andrew Fish Fain?
Of course it is.
There you go. Of course, Joe DeFalco from Future Stars of Wrestling with us as well. And I know you guys like to bet, by the way, and if you want to throw some money down, how would you like to get half of your money just piled on top of what you throw in? I think that would be a great idea. 50% matching bonus up to $1,000 on betonline.ag. All you got to do is go to our website, markhokeshow.com, and click on that link. And when you get to betonline.ag, just put in that neat little code, BOL1000. Of course, it stands for Bet Online, BOL1000. And you're going to get 50% matching bonus up to $1,000. And guys, you can bet on anything on this site. We want to go bet on the football games right now. Feel free to do so. That's obviously available. But you can bet fish. You can bet on darts, Australian rules, football, handball, snooker, surfing is on this site. You can bet on surfing.
In theory, you would have made some money.
Yeah. I mean,
on the World Cup.
There's all sorts of stuff. Jeez. And
I
of course,
think theory was plus plus 240 yesterday.
There you go. And of course, wrestling, which is awesome. So once again, go to markhokeshow.com. Just go to the banners either on a sponsor page or the front page and click on there and make your deposit today. We would certainly appreciate it. All right, men's.
You can even bet on New Japan. You can bet on New Japan now, I saw.
Yes, that is up on the site. We were actually going to mention Wrestle Kingdom coming up.
You should. Chris Bay and Ace Austin 3-0 in the tag tournament.
Yeah, I saw that. Good for Chris.
Yes.
So let's
there goes the rate.
Yeah, let's hit the men's War Games match. Of course, the Bloodline taking on the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens. And this one wraps up with Sami Zayn, of course, setting up the whole storyline. Sami on SmackDown was having a little discussion with Kevin Owens and lied to Jey Uso about it. And then Roman Reigns pulled him in the office today. And unfortunately, depending on your point of view, Sami had a great excuse of why he lied. And then in the match, when Kevin Owens was about to pin Roman Reigns, Sami grabs the ref. And, of course, he's saving Jey during the whole match and eventually serves up Kevin Owens to Jey Uso on a silver platter. And the Bloodline wins the match. And Sami Zayn is embraced by Jey Uso, and everybody's happy. Are you guys happy? Fish.
It was the perfect ending to actually accomplish absolutely nothing.
Exactly. There was that, and that was the point. Nothing got forwarded in this story at all. It's exactly as it was before the match started.
Well, I might disagree with you guys a little bit because now you've apparently, in the eyes of the Bloodline and the eyes of Jey, Sami's cool, right? Sami's cool. Everybody's happy with Sami. But I'm going to throw this out. I think that this whole thing is going to result in a Jey Uso turn relating back to when the Bloodline started and Roman Reigns was tangling with Jey, and Jey wanted to be main event Jey and all that, and Roman put it down and ended up starting the Bloodline with this. I have a feeling that's where this is headed, that Jey Uso, I don't think he's going to be the one to take any one of the WWE championships, but I have a feeling he's going to be the one that's going to cause the end of one of Roman Reigns' reigns. Thoughts?
I don't disagree with you at all, but when you're going in storyline from A to Z and the Survivor Series part of the storyline is B, I'm not sure that that's what people are looking forward to. It's like, what came out of it? Oh, okay, well, I guess Owens and Zayn are going to fight. Like, it really didn't do anything to further stuff. It was just a small blip in the long-running storyline that on Friday on SmackDown, they have to follow through with 10 more things that'll culminate in 3 more months. So to me, it was hugely disappointing. Like the Brawling Brutes shouldn't have been in there. They're not perceived. Nobody perceives as Ridge Holland and Butch as main event players. So I don't think anybody in the world thought, hey, my only thought was this is the way to give Drew McIntyre back that number one position as the babyface to get the titles off Reigns, but he was just an afterthought to me in the match.
Fish, what are your thoughts on all this?
Like I said, it didn't go anywhere. I didn't learn anything after the match that I didn't know before the match. So it was almost pointless. And now, and I said this to you earlier, the biggest problem to me is they have nothing to build for except for the Royal Rumble, and that's like 9 weeks away. There's nothing between now and the Royal Rumble, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is definitely a problem. I guess looking back on this Survivor Series, we were wondering how this was going to work out with War Games being a part of it. And, of course, if you don't know what a War Games match is out there, by the way, you've set up 2 steel cages over a giant steel cage over 2 rings, and then guys go in one by one until everybody's in, then the match starts, and then whoever gets the pinfall or submission wins.
Yeah, so, and in the past, the original War Games wasn't pinfall at all. You had to quit.
Right. And
which I like better, actually.
Does
again, it's like, wow, it's one pinfall, so 4 guys are protected, and it is an abomination of the actual War Games concept. So it's terrible to begin with.
Well, I was just going to ask you guys that. The inclusion of War Games to change up Survivor Series. And, of course, Survivor Series traditionally had started out with a group of 5-on-5 matches. So you would have
elimination matches.
Yeah, so you would have 5 guys teaming up, and as one, if somebody gets pinned, submitted, counted out, whatever, they get knocked out until one team is eliminated. Do you think that this experiment should end here with using War Games on Survivor Series? I know they were just trying to switch it up and make it different.
It works if they would have built it up longer so they had feuds that mattered in the War Games matches.
Yeah, I don't think if you wanted to have a War Games match on here, then it needs to be something that is built up to and is legit, but there just wasn't anything there.
Exactly.
And War Games is supposed to be the finality. Like, I remember War Games, and Sid Vicious kept pressing Brian Pillman up the cage where he was killing him. So I'm not even sure, but I think it might have been like El Gigante or something. He quit to stop Sid Vicious from basically killing Brian Pillman. And now it's like, oh, it's a pinfall. But you can't have a pinfall, so it's like the Elimination Chamber. Everybody has to come in. The only difference is it's not an Elimination Chamber. It's the Elimination Chamber match, except they call it the War Games now, because now it's just a pinfall. But at least the Elimination Chamber, everybody had to get eliminated. So this was like a watered-down version of the Elimination Chamber. And being that I have high hopes because I loved the idea of War Games, they just destroyed it.
Yeah, and you, the three of us, are old enough to remember when War Games started and just how important when there was a War Games match that this was big. Now, this was 5 guys on each side wanting to tear each other apart.
Right, it mattered. Now this was just more of a gimmick for WWE.
and it's just okay. We're gonna put the cage down. We're gonna throw some weapons in. Everybody's gonna do a couple of high spots, and that's really about it. It just wasn't.
And it was also 10 great wrestlers that were the 10 top guys, and it's like, oh my God, who's actually going to quit in this match? And the Horsemen, like, are they going to quit? The Road Warriors or whoever's in it? It's like, oh, Ridge Holland. Oh, Butch. Who cares?
That's an excellent point. It was the players weren't big enough for the match itself.
Sting, Lex Luger. It was like, take the 10 best guys in WWE, and then now you have a match. But you're taking guys that were low carders, like the last pay-per-view, and the Brawling Brutes got over, and now all of a sudden Ridge Holland and Butch are people we're supposed to care about against the Usos. At least if they would have beat the Usos for the belts, then we'd say, oh, okay, these guys are players. But they just lost to them anyway, so who cares?
I will give Butch credit. He twisted Jey Uso's hand and wrist and elbow around like it was a pretzel. Well, it was that was good at the start of the match. And there was and I don't want to totally dismiss the match because there were some good spots. I think the three of us are looking more at the long-term impact. If you actually take the match for what it was and just said this was a match, that was all right.
Yeah, and I've said all along
but
that
you can't. It's the main event of Survivor Series. It isn't the main event of SmackDown where you could live with it.
Right, and I've said all along that Pete Dunne it should be pushed and pushed harder because he's a fantastic wrestler, and he just proved what he could do.
They could have spent 2 months setting this up to maybe where we would have cared, but they set it up for 2 weeks.
That was my point. It'll work next year if you start setting it up in September to get to November's event, not if you start setting up at the beginning of November.
Look at WrestleMania. The reason why it's like they'll sell all the tickets because everybody knows they're going to put all the eggs in that basket. That they're going to give you most likely the best thing you can do. Oh my God, Steve Austin's coming back with Owens, and it's going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns, and it's like they have so much preparation and they have so much devoted to that, but then, this isn't the Money in the Bank or, a in your house pay-per-view. This is supposed to be the Survivor Series, and it was just like, oh hey everybody, it's on tomorrow, and I was like, oh, I forgot it was on so quick. Like, who's wrestling? Who knows? It's just like they're just throwing it against the wall and hoping something sticks.
If this was a B-level pay-per-view, then they did a pretty good job. But the problem is, like I said, it's one of the big four, and it wasn't treated as such. No,
and I just wonder if Survivor Series is going to really, I hate to use the word, survive after this. I think that when you took away the concept of it being all the 5-on-5 matches, and as the years went by, this just got watered down more and more. And then for a while they did the Raw versus SmackDown, but really there was no implications in those Survivor Series matches. It didn't matter, except I think they were doing the first pick in the draft, which is terrible.
The Raw SmackDown versus NXT was good.
Breaking news, they're going to have the Royal Rumble, but this year we're just going to make it a 30-man over-the-top battle royal, but call it a Rumble. Well, of course it would fail.
Yeah, I just think maybe the Survivor Series concept, you do one of two things. Either A, throw in the garbage can, or B, you get it back to what it used to be. And
being that they spent the year building 30 factions in WWE, now that you had all these factions, none of them wrestled on Survivor Series, which is the ultimate faction show.
Yeah, I just think that it was a gimmick that they tried it, and some people are going to say it was okay, but I just don't think it worked.
So, but where do they go from here?
Back to regular TV, and everything goes back where it was, and nobody cares. And the thing is, in 2 weeks, nobody's going to be talking about the Survivor Series anymore. It's like, hey, when's the next pay-per-view? Oh, when's the next pay-per-view?
Yep.
It's like, there is a pay-per-view? Okay.
All right. Well, let's head to another break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that happened in WWE this week. And when we get into the second hour, are we having some mocking going on? Are we egging on a certain wrestler in All Elite Wrestling? Ugh. Oh, boy.
Childish.
Oh, my. This is going to be something else to see, I think. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on The Mark Hoke Show.
Tired of the same boring food when you're out for breakfast or lunch? I'm Mark Hoke, and I have an idea for a different place to go with unique food you're sure to enjoy, and that's Unique Eats. Take some time out of your busy day and stop on in to Unique Eats, featuring celebrity chef Dominik Tedesco and his friendly staff. Whether it's a great start to your day with one of Unique Eats' amazing omelets, or lunch with his incredible sandwiches, pasta, and award-winning pizzas, you'll be in for a fantastic dining experience that won't break the bank. Unique Eats also features a smoothie bar and full vegetarian menu as well. Plus, if you need catering, you can count on Unique Eats no matter what the occasion. So what are you waiting for? Get on over to Unique Eats at 3100 South Durango, Suite 100, open daily until 3 p.m. Call them at 702-992-3038 or visit UniqueEatsLV.com for their full menu and catering info. Break out of the same old routine and have a great meal at Unique Eats today.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
All right, and we are back on The Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM. The talk of Las Vegas. And, of course, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. And got to remind everybody real quick, hey, if you emptied those wallets for Black Friday, time to restock them. And how you do that? Well, you go start working with Trading Made Easy and get into that automated day trading software. Real simple. Hey, all you have to do is go make a free webinar. Join a free webinar at tradingmadeasy.com. It's tradingmadeasy.com. It's so simple. You only need one E. Give them a call at 800-971-4160, 800-971-4160, and maybe be able to drop that 9-to-5 job, or at least pick up a little extra coin and have some extra money for the holidays. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it, Fish?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Of course, I'm Mark Hoke, Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco from Future Stars of Wrestling joining us as well. And just to hit a few other things that happened during the week in WWE before second hour, we turn our attention to All Elite Wrestling. A little bit of a receipt got paid out to a Mr. Braun Strowman this week, to say the least. Of course, the SmackDown World Cup tournament going on. Somebody gets a really cool trophy that's probably not going to go on their case and will be the number one contender will be getting an Intercontinental title shot. But if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Strowman, who is a very large dude, made a comment about flippy floppers and floppy flippers and referring to smaller wrestlers. And he wasn't really trying to put anybody down. He was hyping up his match with Omos, saying, this is going to be, two big guys going at it. Well, he managed to tick off a lot of the locker room. Well, guess what happened when he took on one of the flippy floppers on SmackDown this week in Ricochet? He was dispatched.
Yeah, well, for no reason, Imperium interrupted.
Yeah, for none at all. Really didn't make a lot of sense, did it?
No, now he's got a feud with Imperium, and now apparently he's friendly with Ricochet because they shook hands and held the ring together.
Well, I can't help but have noticed that was definitely payback for his comments about smaller wrestlers, which, guys, deserved or not.
If you're gonna have payback, then have him win clean. Why have Imperium, who had absolutely nothing to do with Braun Strowman, come down to the ring?
I thought Ricochet was the kid grown up that he won the tag titles with, and they were rebonding.
What was that? I forgot the kid's name. Nicholas, the 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Now, well, Ricochet's a little more grown up than that, but Ricochet advances in that tournament, and like I said, you had kind of hoped that the McMahon vindictiveness in booking would have disappeared, but apparently not so much.
But I don't think that's McMahon as much as isn't it like a wrestling trope? If you do something that's bad, you get punished. So this was Strowman's punishment.
But I don't
getting multiple interference to cost you a victory. I'm not sure that's punishment.
He lost.
I always wondered why Strowman was even in that tournament. Wow, that's a weird tournament for Strowman to be in. Oh yeah, that's right. Because they got nothing for him.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't think that the comments warranted anything happening to Strowman or getting heat, because I don't think that's what he was trying to do.
But he got a ton of heat regardless.
Yeah, but
he gets a ton of heat every time he posts something because he has his way of thinking that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, especially those AEW fans, because they're into those flippy floppy wrestlers and Matt Vandergriff and Ricochet and guys who do that for a living. So I don't know.
Well, obviously everybody's got a place in professional wrestling.
Right. But regardless of whether he deserved it or not, what the hell did Imperium have to do with him, and why would they come down for that?
It was the start of a storyline, obviously. We have to wait and see. And, I think a lot of people would be interested in watching Gunther and Strowman. That's two big boys pounding away at each other.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun match. If you're going to do something like that,
but there was no motivation behind them coming down. I get it's the start of a story, but surely they could have had a better way to start that storyline off, or at least do something prior to that to have them coming down make sense.
Well, maybe they didn't.
Well, that's where they started it. They got to start it somewhere, right?
Yeah, maybe they didn't want Braun Strowman winning, getting there.
Before the match, have Strowman run into one of them backstage by accident, and then so at least then they have a cause for coming down. Not just
maybe they don't like Americans, and we're going to find it out later.
Yeah,
and then bring back Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham.
Fish dropping the U.S. Express bomb there.
Well, why are you expecting rhyme or reason for somebody, attacking somebody? Maybe they were backstage and Braun Strowman, because he's a big guy, cut in front of the other guys in Imperium and catering, and
then show it.
Take the last cheeseburger.
Then show it and give us the reason for the attack.
Well, maybe there'll be hidden footage that they'll show on Friday.
Oh, my Lord. Really? That's great. Oh, well, anyway, so I just wanted to bring that one up. How are you guys feeling about Bray Wyatt right now, by the way? Of course, another promo, the kind of conflicted battle with LA Knight. How do you think this is going? Are you guys happy, or?
Yeah, I can't wait to see LA Knight squash Bray Wyatt.
That's not happening, Fish.
I will give LA Knight credit because he is a good talker. That he looks like so far he's holding his own more than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, it'll be a fun distraction for a little bit. Also, there was one other thing that happened, and I want to bring this up more from a social media standpoint than anything else. If you guys didn't see this over Thanksgiving, WWE shot a vignette at
Dominik Mysterio
at Rey Mysterio's house, where Dominik and Rhea Ripley showed up to ruin Thanksgiving dinner. Now you would horrendous, terrible thing to do.
Rey was in a walking boot.
Thank God Rey didn't pull out a gun.
But
thank you, Brian Pillman.
The point that I want to bring up on this, that thing did 7.5 million views over the Thanksgiving holiday. 7.5.
6.3 million times.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I did not watch it at all.
Really? I did.
I saw the beginning of it. I saw Rey in a walking boot, and I was like, okay, they've done this 8 million times before.
I actually did watch the video. I was curious to see what happened. But that is the WWE philosophy. Make a moment. Make a viral moment. And they are the masters at doing stuff like this. And you would have thought that that's something that maybe you just saved for SmackDown on Friday, but they actually put that video out. I believe it was I want to say Wednesday night, Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
Did they put it out Wednesday or Thursday? Because it was supposed to be Thanksgiving. Why would they put it out the day before?
Yeah, it was Thursday, and it absolutely blew up. I mean, that is the good side of WWE, knowing what they're doing with social media. Viral moments, putting things together like that, that is impressive. I mean,
they got extremely lucky, because if Rey Mysterio just locked the door, none of that incident would have happened.
Well, the one problem was Mom opened the door and then said, "Go away," and then they kept knocking, and Dad opened the door. Why did Dad open the door?
And Dad was in a walking boot.
Yeah, this was a bad decision on Rey's part. He should have known better.
Yeah, well, Rey was the instigator. Dominik just wanted to spend time with his family. So it was Rey Mysterio seemed pretty heelish there, not letting his own son into Thanksgiving dinner.
Boo, boo, Rey, boo.
How many guys have brought their girlfriends that the parents didn't like to Thanksgiving dinner?
It is a universal truth. That is for sure. Wow. One other match I wanted to throw out here before we head into break. Omos and Johnny Gargano, we got about a minute here on this, maybe. But Omos squashes Johnny Gargano in this whole feud thing. So we got about 30 seconds on this. Good or bad idea to throw Gargano out there, Fish?
Bad. You don't do anything good for Gargano by doing it. I mean, he tried to mount an offense, couldn't do it. There was nothing good about it.
Yeah.
I think we haven't seen the last of it, and I think Gargano will get his comeuppance.
Well, there you go. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little AEW and the elite up to no good elfish tactics. Or is it the lead into a huge storyline for next year? More on the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be right back.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.